Thank you. Okay. Now, story. Um, the most important part of a story is to start with a concept, irrespective of what you want to write. If you're writing a report, you're writing a film, story, TV, stage, radio, start with a strong concept and what makes the story worth telling. Why is this story worth telling? That's the first thing. If the story is not worth telling, don't even bother. Is it about the love of a mother to a child? Is it about how the boss should train, or treat the staff? Is it about how a president should run a country? Is it about how doctors should treat patients? So there has to be a strong concept. Why is the story intriguing? And then to make your story interesting, it's very important to put stakes, high stakes. Something is about to go wrong if somebody doesn't take an action. So stories are generally about one person that becomes a hero. They call them the protagonists. If you're going into fiction, or even if you want to do documentary, your story will be about a person. That person can represent a lot of people, but your story must be about somebody trying to achieve a goal. So something important must be at risk. He's trying to achieve a goal to stop the bomb from blasting and killing everybody in the nursery school. He's trying, and then people want to hear that story. But if you say, oh, the guy was just going to the shop, so, or he's going to the shop to pick up his kid because there's news on radio about an earthquake. So something is about to happen, and that makes your story compelling. Look for that thing. Um, then weave themes in and symbols into your stories. So a theme of like domestic violence, weave it into your story so that people immediately know that this is what you're talking about. If it's just going around, they're like, what's the story? So start with something that takes us a hook straight into the bottom line. 50,000 children are reported to be missing every year, on their way to school. People are like, what's happening? This is really serious. So start with a theme, start with something strong, and use symbols, use motives, use objects, use phrases, anything that goes to that. I draw your attention to Arnold Schwarzenegger in Terminator 2 or 1. I think it was more of 2. He has some phrases that he would say, come with me if you want to leave. I'll be back. You know, use words that go towards the goal of the protagonist, goes towards the theme. It's all about saving. He came from the future to save. Come with me if you. So use words that go with that. Try to narrow everything into that thought frame so people know what you're saying. Develop complex characters. It's not just a student. What's special about the student? This student is the top of his class, but he's also the top of a gang that robs and on the highway and steals cars. There's something complex about this character, or there's something complex about the people. Make it three-dimensional. Give your character, your hero, or protagonist clear goals and obstacles. I want to achieve this. I want to go and stop, you know. Look at Speed. I don't know if you've seen Speed. Or let's just use an example. The guy who was, trying to go to the shop to get his child from because there's news of an earthquake. He has to get there with a car, but the car won't start. There's an obstacle. How does he overcome this obstacle? People want to know. People are invested. But if you say, oh, he just went to the shop to get people, okay, there's nothing interesting. So let's see this protagonist achieving something, trying to achieve, but there's an obstacle. Let your character have a flaw. They're not perfect, you know. They must have things that, they will change from point A, and then by the time they get to point B, they're new people. They're a new person, you know. Give them an arc. That's what they call an arc. They have to grow. Before the film started, he was proud and arrogant, said, be rude to his parents or whatever. At the end of the film, he changes. So that's an arc for the character. So you start with the problem, obstacles, difficulties, goal, and then through doing something, the hero or protagonist begins to learn and acts and changes. If you have any questions, please stop me. I'm trying to rush through it. And then afterwards, we can open the floor for more questions. Establish a compelling conflict. What is your conflict? This can be external, person to person, society, nature, internal. Um, someone who has cancer, that's a conflict. Trying to live, but it's just difficult. Conflicts are connected to obstacles, on the journey of the hero, and then this gives the characters a reason to act. The reason is you have to make this story emulate life. And in life, we're all trying to do something, but there's always obstacles. If that doesn't come true in your story, people won't relate to it because it's not believable. It's not like my life. There's nothing that, so there must be obstacles for this person, for this, for your character. And then escalate the tension. There's a time limit, you know. You can save the people from the bomb blast, but you have 2 minutes. And then there's traffic. Oh my God, how do we stop, save this? So within any story you write out these things. What are the obstacles? What are the conflicts? It's just the same thing going over and over so that you can really nail that. Keep the tension going, make it difficult and emotionally taxing, keep the audience on the edge by constantly increasing the tension until the climax. So keep the tension going up. The car won't start, then they call that the child is having an epileptic attack. Then he's trying, everything's just getting worse and worse for the character until, the character makes decisions that solves his problems. Structure your story well. Usually we use a 3-act structure, which is the setup, the beginning, act one. You introduce the characters, where we're doing this story, what's the main problem. Act two is where the confrontation happens. The protagonist faces great challenges and obstacles, and this is the largest part where the protagonist can grow, because this is where decisions are being made. Someone that, they told you, or they told this character that you have diabetes and you have to cut sugar, you know. But this person loves cakes, ice creams. That's a conflict. How do I always looking at the ice cream, sweating? I just want to have ice cream. But doctor has said, if you want to live, you have to cut this out. So this is where the character develops that strength to resist the ice cream. And then at the end of the film, they are healthier, they didn't eat sugar, and so that is where the hero or the protagonist grows. And then act three is the resolution. The person goes into their normal lives, and now we can see that what they've learned is actually useful. So when you watch films, you always see that they have these setups: act one, two, and then three. Act one and two are short. Act one and three are short. Act two in the center is the longest. We can talk about structure of a story more, but to start your story, you need an inciting incident because this is what starts the journey. In a nice neighborhood, la 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 la, but there's news that there's a lion going around at night eating children. Then you introduce this inciting incident. Somebody wants to stop this from happening. That starts the story. So don't let your story go too far before you introduce your inciting incident. Then build towards a climax. That's where the hero finally wins, then there's victory, and everything comes back to normal. So this is where the central conflict is at its peak, and it's the most intense part of the story, often emotionally and physically stimulating. So you see the hero being beaten and the protagonist. This is the worst part of the story, but this is where victory happens. Um, Create an emotional core, evoke emotion, stir strong emotions, joy, sadness, fear, anger, connect with your audience by tapping into these emotions. This is how they will feel your story. Um, Tell more about she cried when the child died. It was hard for her to eat. Don't just say and the child died and so give us more emotion in the story, describe more and show, don't tell. Most times make it very visual. If you're making films, you can't tell us he's going to go to the fridge. Just let him go to the fridge, show it with the camera. So, but if you're writing, make it very visual. as well. Then build a vivid world. Let us understand where this thing is happening. You know, is it a ghetto? What kind of ghetto is it? You have gutters there. You have old wooden houses. Describe your environment so people have a feel of where this is happening, and it becomes a bit more immersive. Then use descriptions that engage the senses. Show what the world looks like. It's a world with two moons, and the moons are always shining. And then there's this, describe it so people feel it. People feel like they can touch this world. Write engaging dialogue, make it authentic. Think about what the character will say, or think about how the dialogue will convey meaning more. So write, change, write, read it, listen to it, really dig deep into making it authentic. Subtext is not everything that has to be said sometimes. He looked at her strongly for 5 minutes and walked away. What is he trying to say? So it's not everything he looked and he was thinking, if I can get the cane, I will beat this. Nah. So keep it subtextual. Let there be conflict in your dialogue. Show that trying to get this, but it's hard. You can use what you call a soliloquy, like voiceover. The person is thinking from the inside and you're hearing it. You can use anything to just centralize, keep the audience focused on your story. Pace your story, keep the momentum. Try not to go too slow, don't drag. And they came out, they went to the gates and they start the car and you see them go straight, going somewhere, you leave the door, the person is at, where they're going to, they're coming in, so that people can follow your story. If it drags, you lose tempo. And then you vary the tempo, put a fast story next to a slow story, next to a fast story. Your story just goes slow, 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 slow. They slept and then they slept and then they slept. They slept, they woke up, they went to work. It was a busy day and then they came back, they slept. So vary the tempo of your story so it holds attention. Craft a memorable ending. Let the ending be satisfying. Let it have a good result. Let people say, "Oh, wow!" If it's horror, let us see that it ends like, "Whoa, man!" Horror always tries to convey something from the depths, from the other side, from the they say the dark side, but the side, the abyss that we're not sure of. That leads to curiosity. It's some people's experience, and then they want to associate. Yeah, I like this film. You'll be wondering, why do you like horror film? Because there's something in them that relates to that particular experience. Same person will also like other things. Liking horror doesn't mean they're horrible or condemn people, but it's just connecting to something they feel. Then leave a lasting impression. Great stories leave the audience thinking, wow, Titanic, oh God, man, he died for her. Like, you know, um, even what do you call Jesus of Nazareth, that popular film in the 80s. Wow, he died and rose again, Die Hard, you can think about any film, they always leave you with something that you go and talk about. So look for that last thing as you end your story, so that they will take that home with them. And write and edit and rewrite. So it's don't just rely on, oh, I've written my story, it's finished. Read it, rewrite, read it, rewrite. It's all about reading and correcting and get feedback from people. Let your friends read your story. Let them tell you, the story. Give it to friends that don't fear you. They fear you, they will say, best story. Give it to people you feel will tell you the truth. Give it to professionals as well. Give it to somebody who doesn't even know you. But make sure you're protected, write your name and everything there. And make sure it's something you want to quickly publish or make into a film. If you do it, they read it, you now relax, you know, they could go and produce it. So I'll give them ideas of their own. Um, so additional notes, make sure there's empathy, um, place yourself in the story, make sure it's a human story, um, make sure your story is not predictable. People cannot say, I know the end of this story. Yes, he's going to win. She's going, yeah, you know, that's a boring story. Let people not know where the story is going. So there's something they call dramatic irony, which is the good person has a reason to be bad and the bad person has a reason to be good. Dramatic irony means the man is a priest, but he's also an assassin. But what is he going to do eventually? It's not like they're going to kill him, but he's an assassin that takes out bad people. You know, funny enough, John Wick kills is an assassin, but people like him. Why? Because he has emotion, he has empathy. They killed his dog, killed his wife. They brought out the beast in him. So make your stories authentic, make it real, not fake, so people can relate to it. Um, that's the end of the slide. I will stop sharing so that we can ask questions, if that's okay. So the floor is open. If you have questions you want to ask, please feel free. Before, yeah, feel free to ask your questions. I think we have about maybe 10 minutes or thereabout before the end. If there's any parts that you feel was not talked about, was not covered, or any part that relates to what you want to write as a storyteller, can you share the recording? Oh, yes, yes, I'm going to put it on YouTube and share the link on the group page, definitely. Any other comments? Yeah, you're welcome, Kenneth. Any other comments, any other questions before we call it an evening? It's a quick tutorial. Hope you were able to take a few notes. Okay. And hope this was relevant to you and what you want to do. Storytelling encompasses everything we do in life, just a conversation you're having with someone. Or if you're presenting something in school, you can use those tips. How do I bring emotion? How do I create interest? How do I hold attention? So it's important for every aspect of life, even in relationships, because we communicate through stories. Okay. Any other question before we call it an evening? Going. All right. Well, thank you everybody for making it to this short training.
No
I
problem.
hope, yeah, I sincerely hope that you got one or two things from this. And we'll be having this monthly. Every second Saturday of the month, we'll have a quick little tutorial. So next week, we might talk about something else. If you're in the group, you can talk about what you want to, free-TED, talk about what you want to raise in these virtual meetings. You want to look at acting, directing, anything, any aspect at all, and we can look at it together. If I don't know, I'll research, get some things put together, organize some knowledge, and then we can share together. But it's always good to meet once in a while and, yeah, enjoy each other's presence. So in the absence of anything, thank you so much for making it. Enjoy your evening and happy Thanksgiving on Monday. Don't finish the
Same to
turkey. Share the turkey around. All right. Take
Okay.
care, everyone. Yeah.
Bye.
Have a good evening. Bye-bye.
Thank
You
you.
too.
Yeah.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Yeah.